This is Greg Noyes, Pacific West Home Inspections. Today I'm doing a house in Pasadena, and it was built back in the 20s, 1923, and they've done some modifications to it and added some rooms to it as well. I'm going to go over how to shut off the different utilities. The first one I'll look at is the water, and the very front of the house. Get out of the shadow here. This valve here will shut off the water to your house, and then the other valve will go to your sprinklers. It has a pressure regulator, so it keeps the pressure below 80 pounds. So that's what we like to see. It's copper, and you're running 1-inch copper pipe into the house. Next thing we're going to look at is the gas. On the right side of the house, we find the gas meter, and there's no bollard pipe here to protect it, and that's something you may want to put in. The gas valve is right here to the side. You turn it 90 degrees with a wrench. You have to use a wrench, and that'll shut it off. You can go either way, right or left. And they also have for upgrade, you can get a seismic gas shutoff valve, which would go on this side of the house. So the way they work, on a 5.4 earthquake, they would shut off. Next thing we're going to look at is the main electrical panel, and then there's also a sub panel in the garage. The main panel's on the left exterior of the house. So we're over here at the main panel, and the main disconnect's right here. So you bring this breaker down, it shuts everything off. Now there is a labels paper on the cover here, and there's no numbering system here. So if I was doing it, I would actually, it's easier if you just label it, write the whatever breaker is for right here in the panel. By the time you look up here, you've lost some time and you want to be able to turn these off in emergency. You notice too, there's a lot of these newer arc fault breakers, and these are the newer ones, and we use them for most of the rooms now. They started in 2004 with the bedrooms, so now we go to a lot of the other rooms. The next thing we're going to look at is the sub panel in the garage. The sub panel in the garage, there's no labeling on the breakers here, and so that's something you want to upgrade. And here in a minute, I want to take the cover off. In the garage, they've done some shear paneling, and where they attach it to the frame, there's some areas they didn't do it's not attached. So so it gives you some rigidity, but it's not up to the way we like to see it. And also, when they re-roofed here, they went over the wood shingle, and we typically like to take everything off and put down plywood sheeting, then put one layer of composition shingle over that. And with that as a base, you can go another layer later on in the future. And then in your garage here, these outlets here on the wall should be GFI protected. That's the red and black button ones. And I've got a tester here, so it's not hooked to one. So that needs to be done. And it's unknown if this garage is bolted to a foundation or not, as the walls are covered. So I got the ladder set up, and next thing is to look at the carport roof and their garage roof. Now in the garage roof, they put the roofing right over the original wood shingles. And typically what we like to see is have them take everything down and put plywood up, and which wasn't done. So we're going to climb the roof and see what you have on top. So over the carport, you have 90 weight cap sheet, and they hop mopped it down. This is what this seam is. We like to see that. So it tells us it has a good bonding between seams. The overlap's about 3 inches wide. And then we'll continue to go up here. Now over the garage area, you have these composition shingles, and if you look carefully, it's not very smooth because they put it over the wood shingles, and this is one of the things that happens. Now, at the very top of the roof, we have something called a ridge cap, and at 8 to 10 years, the ridge caps will wear, and it's because they're bent over. And so you replace just the ridge caps, then you should get another 10 years or so out of your roof. Now I'm going to bring the camera around, and we'll look at your roof at the house, and I'm going to walk it here in a second. So it kind of gives you a bird's view of what you have here. So the roof over your rear of the house is a composition shingle again, and you can see they have the flashing done right, and it looks like it's this from the wear here, the corners looks newer, and we'll probably get an age in there. It's probably 1 or 2 years old. There's a whirlybird, a ventilator on the roof, and my next thing is going to go up to your attic. Up in your attic you have your furnace. It's Mana, and this is the gas furnace part here. And the other end towards the front of the house is your part of your air conditioning. And inside this there's a coil. This black pipe here comes in from your outside compressor, and these two white tubes or pipes it's your condensation, just like your car. When you go down to Bonds in the summertime, you get a lot of condensation off your under your car from your air conditioner. So the primary one goes to the outside, and your secondary one will they have a moisture detector. So if there's a stoppage in your primary, this moisture detector will shut down your AC unit. Typically, we like to see a pan, secondary pan, under the unit. They didn't do that. And on your furnace here of the gas line, we like to see another little pipe come down. We call that a sediment trap. So that's what you have there. And you can see the end of the old house here, the composition shingles. And I'll be going into that area here next. This construction is all new. It's rafters. They use the metal connectors, so everything's fine here. So I'm going to move on to the front of the house next. So I'm in the attic at the front of the house, the original attic, and back in the 20s they didn't use ridge boards that go across here, so they butt the rafters up against one another. And they did use collar ties here, these bracing here. Now they took off the old wood shingles and they put down the plywood diaphragm. This is something that they did not do in the garage area. They've added some bracing here at the front rafters. They use a 2x4, and usually we use a 2x6 here, and they have it. We want it standing up rather than on the side, because you're only getting 2 inches of support here. So in this last one, there's no support at all under it. So they have tried to do some modifications or strengthening, but they could have done a better job with it. If you, I'll bring the camera around to the east side, and you'll see sunlight through your siding. So that's very typical. It's an overlapping type of siding, and you have a very large gable vent here, one left and right and one at the rear, so it should give you a lot of ventilation up here. You could add a fan, and attic fan, and that'll help move the air around as well, or get the hot air out of the garage. Now over the kitchen, or laundry room, I guess it would be, there's some installations that's been moved away, and you probably want to get that back. But all in all, they've done some modifications, and these 1-bys here that they installed, they're for tension, and here you need for support. They should have used a thicker board for that. This is done originally from the original house, but it doesn't provide very much support for your rafters. Now, when I was under the house, the new foundation in the rear of the house, there's a lot of moisture buildup, and I noticed there's no sunlight coming in from these vents on the side of the house. There's insulation packed up in the floor joist bays, so you have to pull some of it out so you get some cross ventilation in the building. So there is some moisture down there, and I believe the original inspection was done several months ago. They actually found mushrooms growing down there. The moisture wasn't quite as bad, but if you have heavy rains, I can see where that may happen. So to end up here, there's a couple things with the air conditioner. It should be raised higher, and it should be anchored down. This is a Mana model made by Goodman out of Texas. And then next to it, you have your water heater. It's a Kenmore. It looks newer. You have one supply line that should be insulated. The other one's already insulated. And then the vent coming up here, as it goes up through the eaves, it needs a 1-inch gap. It's right against the wood. That could be a fire hazard. And then looking at your water heater, temperature pressure relief valve, this drain line, the very bottom of it, there's a threaded pipe, and you need to cut the threads off. And again, the gas line coming in is missing the sediment trap. So a couple things that need to happen here in the on the water heater. Again, this is Greg Noyes, Pacific West Home Inspection, and I can be reached at 818-362-5578, or my cell is 818-271-0417, and my website is ehomeinspector.com.